Good morning. Welcome to the New York City Council Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises. Please place your phone on silent or vibrant mode. At any time during this hearing, please do not approach the dais. Thank you for your cooperation. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a meeting of the Subcommittee on Zoning and Franchises. I'm Councilmember Kevin Riley, Chair of the Subcommittee. I am joined today by Councilmember Hanks and Councilmember Carr. Today we are scheduled to hear 4 hearings. However, the 102-51 Queens Boulevard, which consists of LUs 269 and 270, in Councilmember Shulman's district, is being laid over to a future date. We will first hear a joint hearing of 2 dispositions of city-owned land related to the Atlantic Avenue Mixed-Use Plan, also known as AIM Up, which we heard about last week. We will then hold a hearing regarding the project known as 2510 Coney Island Avenue rezoning. This meeting is being held in hybrid format. Members of the public who wish to testify may testify in person or through Zoom. Members of the public wishing to testify remotely may register by visiting the New York City Council's website at www.council.nyc.gov/landuse to sign up. And for those of you here in person, please see one of the sergeants at arms to prepare and submit a speaker's card. Members of the public may also view a live stream broadcast of this meeting at the Council's website. When you are called to testify before the subcommittee, if you are joining us remotely, you will remain muted until recognized by myself to speak. When you are recognized, your microphone will be unmuted. We will limit public testimony to 2 minutes per witness. If you have additional testimony that you would like the subcommittee to consider, or if you have written testimony that you would like the subcommittee to consider, you may submit it. Instead of appearing in person, please email it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Written testimony may be submitted up to 3 days after the hearing is closed. Please indicate the LU number or project name in the subject line of your email. We request that witnesses joining us remotely remain in the meeting until excused by myself, as council members may have questions. Lastly, for everyone attending today's meeting, this is a government proceeding and decorum must be observed at all times. Members of the public are asked not to speak during the meeting unless you are testifying. The witness table is reserved for people who are called to testify, and no video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recording as testimony, but may also submit transcript of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing record. I will now open the joint public hearing regarding pre-considers LUs. Hold on 1 minute, excuse me. I will now open up the joint public hearing regarding pre-considered LUs known as 1134-1142 Pacific Street and 457 Nostrand Avenue, which are both related to AIM Up. Last week, we held a hearing regarding this neighborhood plan, and today we are holding a joint hearing involving the disposition of 2 city-owned parcels of land as part of AIM Up. The first city-owned parcel of land at 1134-1142 Pacific Street is located in Councilmember Hudson's district. The second city-owned parcel at 457 Nostrand Avenue is located in Councilmember Osei's district. HPD will explain why the city is seeking disposition authority. For anyone wishing to testify regarding these 2 dispositions remotely, you must register online by visiting the Council's website at council.nyc.gov/landuse. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeants at arms to submit a speaker's card. If you would prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I will now call the first applicant panel for this proposal, which consists of Justin Donlon. Council, can you please administer the affirmation?
Good morning. Could you please turn on your microphone and raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in your testimony today in response to council member questions?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the viewing public, if you need an accessible version of this presentation, please send an email request to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. And now the applicant team may begin. I just ask that you please reinstate your name and organization for the record. You may
Sure.
begin.
Justin Domlin, HPD. Morning Chair, members of the subcommittee, thank you for your time today. Related to the larger Atlantic Avenue mixed-use plan, which was the subject of an earlier comprehensive public hearing by this subcommittee on March 27th of 2025 at 11 a.m., HPD is requesting acquisition of property by the city for one site and subsequent disposition of city-owned land pursuant to Section 576A2 of the Private Housing Finance Law for two sites. The disposition area includes 457 Nostrand Avenue and 1134-1142 Pacific Street. Both sites will ultimately be designated to a sponsor selected by HPD and will yield up to 240 and approximately 119 affordable dwelling units, respectively.
Does that complete your presentation?
It does.
All right. You have now had the record for the fastest presentation at the zoning committee. Richard, he's going to beat you. Thank you. I have no questions. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Okay. There being no questions, I excuse this applicant panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify remotely or in person regarding these two disposition actions?
No.
There being no other members of the public who wish to testify on the pre-considered LUs regarding the 1134-1142 Pacific Street and 457 Nostrand Avenue, this joint public hearing is now closed and the items are laid over. I'm just going to go on pause real quick. Okay. I will now open the public hearing regarding LUs 267 and 268, known as the 2510 Coney Island Avenue rezoning proposal in Councilmember Vernikoff District. This is a proposal to develop a mid-rise residential building in the Sheep's Head Bay section of Brooklyn. For anyone wishing to testify regarding this proposal remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online and by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. For anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeants at arms to submit a speaker's card. If you prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to us at landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I would now like to recognize Councilmember Vernikoff for her remarks.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to be here and say a few words regarding this proposal. When this proposal first came to me, there were significant concerns and differences. Those concerns were driven by this not being in a residential district and corridor. There were concerns with the proposed height and number of stories, what it would do to the character of the neighborhood, and also with parking, which is always a concern with any new project in the district due to our traffic issues and lack of sufficient parking generally. We were much further apart than we are today. Through negotiations and much back and forth, I believe what you're going to see here today addresses a lot of these concerns. Highlighting this is the fact that what will be presented is now 4 stories. There will be a restrictive declaration, and there will be one one-for-one parking, which is something that was part of the proposal from early on. I'd like to thank the Council Planning and the Land Use Division, especially Diana Leventhal, Paris Strotter, and William Vidal, the applicant's legal team, Richard LaBelle and Fayan Baton, for working to the community where we were at on these issues. My legislative director, Troy Olson, Community Board 15 Chair, Teresa Scavo, and the leadership team at Community Board 15, including Ronnie Towell. And finally, thank you to the members of the subcommittee and all of those participating in the public hearing today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Vernikoff. I will now call the applicant panel for this proposal, which consists of Richard Lobel and Daniel. Daniel Grinshitten. Richard, is Kevin online?
He is.
He is?
You
He's not-
sure? Because we are unable to find Kevin. Oh,
Okay.
there. Do I see Kevin? Does
Yeah.
it say
He
Kevin
raised his
Williams?
Yeah, his hand is
Okay.
raised.
Okay.
And Kevin Williams. And is Yuri Menzak online too?
Yuri is not. There
No?
was a family emergency, so.
Okay, no problem. So I will now call the applicant panel, which consists of Richard LaBelle, Daniel Grinshitten, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, and Kevin Williams. Council, can you please administer the affirmation?
Could you please raise your right hand and turn on your microphone? Thank you. And then if, because we've already done this before, Mr. Williams, could you come online?
I'm online. Oh, there we go.
Thank you. Oh, well, there you, and you have your hand raised.
Yeah, for some reason my screen is not coming up.
Okay, well, we can hear you. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in your testimony today and in response to council member questions?
I do.
I do. I do.
And Mr. Williams?
Kevin, can you say I do?
Okay, well, if he testifies, we'll come back to him.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the viewing public, if you need an accessible version of this presentation, please send an email request to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Now the applicant team may begin. I'll just ask that you please reinstate your name and organization for the record. You may begin.
Thank you, Richard Lobel of Sheldon Lobel, PC. Good morning, Chair Riley and members of the committee and Councilmember Vernikoff. We're here today to discuss the 2510 Coney Island Avenue rezoning. Next slide, please. So as originally proposed, this was a rezoning which proposed a rezoning of existing R4 and C81 districts to an R70 C24 district, as well as a text amendment pursuant to MIH to allow options 1 and 2. As Councilmember Vernikoff suggested, after much discussion with the community, the council member's office and stakeholders, the proposed application has been reduced to allow for a 4-story building with roughly 26,000 square feet, roughly 27 units, including 8 income restricted units at option 2, and parking spaces for a minimum of 1 parking space per unit. Currently, this would allow for 35 parking spaces. The development would comply with an R6B zoning district. So the next slide shows the numbers behind the proposal, which demonstrates both the original proposal as well as the modified proposal. Again, as modified, the height would now be 4 stories at 26,000 square feet with 27 dwelling units and 35 parking spaces. The next slide shows the zoning map, which shows the existing zoning, primarily on the site, an R4 district with a small portion within a C81 district. And so pursuant to the proposed rezoning, next slide, the site itself, an 11,000 square foot site shown in red, would be rezoned. Again, the rezoning contemplated R7D with a commercial overlay, which now has been modified in terms of the proposed design to allow for an R6B development. The next slide shows the area map, which we think demonstrates to the committee why this is a meritorious rezoning. Again, Coney Island Avenue, an extra wide street at 100 feet. The subway is within several blocks to the east of the site, and there are numerous commercial uses along Coney Island Avenue here. Again, the building typology in the area would support a building, particularly the revised proposal, which would allow for a 4-story building, among other buildings, including a 6-story building on the block. The next slide shows the zoning change map. Again, the district boundary, which would permit for change in the zoning here again at the proposed R7D with a commercial overlay. The next several slides show pictures of the site and the surrounding area, low-lying manufacturing building to the north of us, the existing site, which allows for used car parking as a non-conforming legal use, as well as other buildings in and around the area of the rezoning. The last several slides show the plans and materials. The next slide shows a site map, which shows the rough outline of the property as a 4-story mixed-use ground floor community facility and residential building. The next slide is a section of the building showing the cellar level with parking, including stackers, the ground floor with community facility use and the residential lobby, and residential on 3 stories above. The remaining slides are floor plans. To the left, the parking, which allows for 35 spaces, attended parking with stackers, the ground floor community facility and residential use to the right. And the next slide shows the floors above, inclusive of 27 units, which are 18 one-bedroom and 9 two-bedroom units. If you're able to page through the remainder of the slides, we note that the building right now has been modified. The height is now more contextual with the area and is a design which fits in with the surrounding buildings. And we would close merely by noting that Councilmember Vernikov was extremely generous with her time and really went above and beyond in terms of negotiating a settlement and an agreement between all the parties to this rezoning. We think that the proposal clearly allows for a building which provides a far better use than the existing used car lot and something which can benefit the surrounding area in terms of residential units as well as community facility. So with that, the applicant team is happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Richard. I just want to state for the record, we've been joined by Councilmember Abreu and Councilmember Salon. Thank you. So, Richard, can you please explain what is permitted under the current R4 zoning and how your revised proposal is different than what is permitted as of right?
Sure. So the current permitted zoning under the R4 with a small portion in C81 would allow for a 0.75 FAR building with affordability. That would go up to a 1.5 FAR pursuant to the City of Yes. With regards to the R6B proposal, primarily there's changes as far as 2 aspects of the zoning. The first is to allow for a greater floor area. So the floor area would go up to a 2.4. And the second would be required affordability. So mandatory inclusionary housing would apply to the site. Those 8 units would remain affordable through the life of the project. So this would really allow for a better structure in terms of the use of the site. The heights basically are similar to what would be permitted, given the fact that the existing R4 would permit a 45-foot tall building. Under the proposal, as restricted, the building would be permitted to go to 48 feet. But generally speaking, both the square footage and yards under the current proposal are greater than what would be permitted under the existing zoning.
Thank you.
Sure.
And can you please share, again for the record, the updated unit mix for the latest proposal?
Sure. The unit mix would be 18 one-family units, one-bedroom units, 9 two-bedroom units, and the 8 affordable units that would be part of the application pursuant to MIH would be approximately the same mix in terms of 1 and 2 bedrooms pursuant to MIH regulations.
Thank you. I have no more questions. I'm going to give the floor to Councilmember Vernikov.
Thank you. Community Board 15 recommended disapproval of the 8-story mixed-use proposal that was presented to them in December. Can you speak to the Community Board's concerns and how this revised proposal addresses those concerns? Thank you.
Sure. So the Community Board was opposed to the height of the building. So as originally proposed, this was, as everyone is aware, an 11-story building pursuant to R7D zoning. And additionally, there were concerns over density and parking. So basically, the number of units, the activity at the building, given the required spaces at 24 spaces, all of this contributed to a feeling at the Community Board that it was not appropriate for this corner of Coney Island Avenue. As proposed, the building has now been reduced by 7 stories to a 4-story building, and the parking spaces, despite the fact that the number of dwelling units has decreased by 33 units, has increased by a minimum of three spaces, and right now has proposed 11 spaces. So what we allowed for is one-for-one parking at the site, which is something that CB 15 seeks, and also a vast reduction in the height of the building to allow for a more contextual building.
Thank you. And the proposal includes 27 dwelling units and 27 off-site parking spots. Can you talk about where those parking spots will be located?
Sure. The parking spaces are actually on site. They're in the cellar of the building. And so through the use of stackers on the cellar level as well as an attendant, we're able to provide one-for-one parking in the building.
Thank you. And last question, Coney Island Avenue is a wide street with heavy traffic and can be hazardous for pedestrians. It's important that this development does not further exacerbate those conditions. What considerations went into locating the parking garage entrance to ensure public safety?
Sure. So when the traffic and parking consultant looked at this project in terms of the environmental review, particularly in the original iteration, there were 60 units that were proposed with 24 spaces. So the amount of traffic in and out of the site would have been fairly intense, given the fact that there was a limited number of spaces and there would be far more potential pickups and drop-offs from the site. With regards to parking and traffic right now, the traffic and parking did not trigger any additional studies. I think that's primarily given the fact that, first of all, the utilization of the site will be relatively minimal, given the fact that now there's only 27 units at the site as well as 27 spaces. So I think what's projected is far less, not only than what was proposed, but importantly than what could be there as of right. So as of right, given the 1.5 FAR and potential community facility uses, you'd be able to have a roughly 15,000 square foot community facility medical office building. Those medical office units would generate far more pickups and drop-offs than the proposed residential. And so right now, from what our traffic and parking consulting has shown us, those pickups and drop-offs for existing residential sites will be really limited and at no point would reach any type of trigger in terms of any peak usage that would impact traffic on Coney Island Avenue.
Thank you, Richard, and it's been a pleasure, as always, working with you on this.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, Councilmember Vernikoff. There being no other questions, this applicant panel is excused. Councilor, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on this LU?
No, there's no one signed up online or in person to testify.
There being no other members of the public who wish to testify on LUs 267 and 268 regarding 2510 Coney Island Avenue rezoning proposal, this public hearing is now closed and the item is laid over. That concludes today's business. I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, subcommittee council, land use and other council staff, and Sergeant at Arms for participating in today's meeting. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.